Thank you for joining me for this talk. I was inspired this morning as one of my favorite people, Alexa, sent me a text message with some confusion about the tarot cards that I created. So I have them in my hand now, as they prompted a bit of a ramble in my response to her, and then the same response revealed itself in my meditation as well as the book I'm reading. So I wanted to speak about it because it feels like a very potent message for especially the world today, especially for citizens of the world today and people like me and like my friend Alexa, who really would like to see a shift happen in the world that is very loving and connected and healthy, to see systems change to benefit the greater good, and to see the people that we love heal and become fully empowered and joyful and living their dharma, and to see issues like climate catastrophe completely turn around for the greater good, to see environments restored, to see religions come together in recognition of the one spirit that they're all speaking of. So if that sounds like you, then you are here for a reason, and I'm really grateful to be speaking with you. So I'll start by talking about the two cards that brought up this whole discussion in the first place, to sort of get us started on this discussion. So the first card that Alexa sent me is the Four of Wands. And this is the version of the Four of Wands that I created in the Skeletal Tarot. You can see the character is sitting in meditation, watching this little seedling, starting to grow with a rainbow over its head and a sun behind their head as well. So what does this card mean to me? The Four of Wands traditionally speaks of joyful times, of celebration. It can even denote marriage, things just coming together. It's the 1111 card. So it's very magical, very potent. And so my perspective of it is that all of these synchronistic, serendipitous events that take place that bring us immense joy all start from within. They all start from an idea within our own mind, an emotion or a feeling, all within ourselves. And when we can focus on that, then it comes to fruition. So that's the first card. The second card that Alexa sent me is this card. Now this card is actually not a traditional tarot card. This is a card that I sort of made up and included that is specific to my own deck. So this is the Master card, 22. There is generally in the major arcanas, it ends at 21 with the World. But there's 22 major arcanas because there's also the Fool, it's just 0. So this is the 22nd one that I added. It was very special to me because I created this deck in 2020, which in numerology is 22, and it was my 22nd year of life. So 22 was a huge number for me last year, and I felt so many lessons emerging from it. So that's why I included this card as well. So what is this card talking about? This card is talking about a certain awakening that completely shifts our reality. It is a level of healing that takes place on the quantum level that heals our timeline, that heals our present reality, and that allows us to live in a reality free from whatever fear, pain, anger, whatever that was holding us back and lingering behind the curtain of our whole life thus far. And so this is a transition point of no return in which your internal state has changed so much that your external state reflects it. So you can see that there are two snakes making their way up the tree. This is symbolic of the Kundalini. I am actually finishing up a training for Kundalini yoga, so there's a bit of that philosophy woven into this deck as well. And in Kundalini yoga, we talk about the ascent of our two channels of energy. We have three main channels of energy in our physical and etheric body. They exist on all planes. We have the Ida and Pingala. The Ida is like the feminine, the water, the moon, and the Pingala is the sun, the fire, the masculine. And in the center channel, we have Sushumna, which is where the two intertwine and merge as one. And that's when we're in a state of balance. So, when we raise those two energies up through practice, through good health, through pure intention, through whatever means of purification that we go through, because it's going to look different for everybody. We all have different needs and different pulls towards different healing modalities. We reach this state that one would call samadhi, which is complete union with the divine, mystical union. And in this state, we are fully conscious of being entirely connected to everything. We merge. And the point of Kundalini yoga is to reach this state, but then to let go of it and allow ourselves to come back to the reality that most of us experience. So you can see here there's one figure that is reaching up, looking for answers on this side. And this is like a mirror of the death card in this deck. I depicted somebody reaching up a tree. There's a snake there. Snakes symbolize transformation. And they're shedding a skin and looking up, almost for answers, looking for guidance or wisdom. And so they shed their skin and they ascend, letting go that skin. It can be symbolic of, physical things. It can be symbolic of habits. It can be symbolic of beliefs, waves of behavior. It can even be symbolic of people, a phase in our life, anything that we're releasing, which is very scorpionic, by the way. When I'm recording this, we're just a couple days past a full moon in Scorpio, and the scorpionic energy has been insane. Anyway, so we let go of whatever was keeping us in this old paradigm. We reach that mystical union because we've sacrificed something that we once held onto, and it's allowed us to become lighter. And then you see on the other side, this kind of mimics the Hanged Man in my deck, that this person comes back down to earth enlightened, with greater knowledge of what is the true reality, of what is beyond the physical reality that many people get stuck in. And it's like getting beyond that, incorporating the wisdom that we receive from this higher place and bringing it back down to earth. So these two cards together, what are we talking about? The alchemy of spirit, of love, of awareness, consciousness, utilizing these hermetic, alchemical principles and wisdom in order to create in this world. And it's not a physical creation as much as a creation that takes place in the mind and then echoes out, almost like each thought is like a stone being tossed into the water being reality. And there's like ripples and waves that then affect everything. You know, the fish in the water feel it, people can see it, the birds see it, and we can all feel it, and it exists. And so when we can maintain this prayer field around us that is completely loving, compassionate, understanding, and empowered, then those waves are reaching everything in our lives, every person that we meet and every situation that we meet. So when I was speaking with Alexa, I brought up, in regards to these two cards, these books that I have been so blessed to get to read. It is the Celestine prophecy books. So there's the Celestine prophecy, the 10th insight, and the Secret of Shambhala, which I just finished the Secret of Shambhala right before choosing to record this video. And what the point of all these books is how it is humanity's destiny to evolve in a spiritual way in which we can create from this place in complete love, without attachment to receiving anything in return, even recognition, and purely intending that everything we say, think, feel, and do is for the greatest good. So in the Secret of Shambhala, they talk about forming this prayer field around us. And it really connected to the Kundalini yoga, in that when the Kundalini rises into the heart, everything that we think is created. That's a manifestation of the Kundalini raising into the heart. Most people, start with the Kundalini. It's, fallen as we were born into this body in the first 3 chakras. So it's stuck in survival mode or pleasure mode or power mode. When it rises past that threshold of power, we come into the 4th of the traditional 7 chakras, which is the heart, which, by the way, 2 + 2 is 4. So it's raising this energy into a state of love and letting that reverberate in all that we do. Now, one of the things that they warn with, both in the Secret of Shambhala and in Kundalini theory, is of when we raise ourselves to this state, that we have to release any negative assumptions or expectations, because we are creating actively in everything that we think, and so those negative things too can be created. In the Secret of Shambhala, it talks about how when we allow those negative emotions like fear, anger, hatred, despair, whatever, to enter our field and our mind, our energy will automatically lower itself, because the creative source of all things does not want to create those things. And so our energy will lower so that our thoughts become less potent. So you can feel that. You can feel which thoughts energize us and which thoughts lower our energy. And I know that many people talk about like spiritual whitewashing, where we ignore the issue or pretend like it's not there, and that's not what I'm suggesting. what I'm suggesting and what the Secret of Shambhala suggests with this situation is to acknowledge that more dense vibration and then lift it. My partner really loves Paul Selig, and he would call it lifting it to the higher room, to the upper room. And so that means that you can see the higher purpose of it, the purpose that is like Shiva in Hinduism. Shiva the destroyer is like the murderer, the rapist, war, famine, disease, death, all of the things that are difficult but lead us to pursue higher knowledge, that lead us to softening our hearts, becoming compassionate, and choosing to do no harm because we see the pain and suffering that comes from those things, from selfish desires, from control issues, from holding grudges, whatever it is. We can see the pain that emerges from that. And so it's like seeing all of these aspects as what Ram Dass would say is God in drag, seeing the divine smiling behind it and seeing that there was a purpose from it, and then lifting it to that state of serving the greatest good. Lifting up your abuser to a place of love and understanding so that they can understand what they did, what happened, so that they can love themselves enough so that they don't have to do that. That is what this alchemy is all about. Because everything we think when we come into this state is created. So I challenge you today to ponder anything that you're holding in a lower place and asking yourself if there's another reality to it, if you can see it from a higher perspective, if you can see the greater good of what it's showing you, what it's teaching you, and lift it to a higher place. So I will post a meditation following this video in the next couple of days, maybe today. I'll see what I've got going. The meditation that I choose to do to act as prayer, that is a very potent visualization. I generally do it after yoga because yoga helps me get into a trance-like state. So if you have a practice like that, you can do that first, and I'll talk all about that in the video when I post it, but I welcome and encourage you to watch that video when it arrives. And I would like to thank you for being here. I am so grateful that your energy magnetized you to this, because that means that you are one of the spiritual warriors. And I'm getting teared up and choked up thinking about that your heart is so pure and your yearning for harmony is so true, that you have been led to this place today, to hearing me speak. And I really hope that this resonated with you. Please check out my other videos if you haven't already, or if you have, feel free to check them out again. If you like the Skeletal Tarot, I'll leave the link for my Etsy in the description. So thank you so much for watching, and have a beautiful day.